So today we'll be unboxing and then reboxing your Bambu Labs X-1 Carbon. So first thing you want to do is open this box. Before we get into unboxing this, and as we go through this process, you want to make sure that you are keeping track of where things were, because that'll be very important when we go to rebox this. So moving on, you first open the box, do a quick scan, look at how this kind of looks so you can remember that. Once you've done that, then you want to remove these 4 styrofoam corners that are in here. That will allow you to pull the printer out. Make sure you save these. We'll need them later. So then you're also going to want to take off this packaging. All of this stuff you want to save for when we repackage it. Then there will be another kind of wraparound of this bubble packaging. There's some tape on the sides here that you can take off that just keeps the packaging in place. Once again, save all this. So now you've got your printer fairly free. We're going to take it out. We're going to set it on the desk over here. So taking this out of your box can be a little tricky because of the fact that it's covered in plastic. It's very smooth. There's no handles on it. I find the easiest way to do this is with 2 people. You can do it with 1. So I'm going to do it with 1. But basically the easiest way is to kind of get your hands down in the box there, and then you want to press together so you're holding tension, and then pull up. Let's see if I can get this to work. Pull up like that. Make sure you don't drop it, and put it on the table. Okay, so now that you got your Bambu out of the box, you got it set on a surface preferably. Doing it on the ground is just a pain. What you're gonna do, you can see it's covered in this wrap. You're just gonna pull this off. You can either just rip it off, because we're not gonna be putting this back on, or you can cut it. This is one thing that we're not gonna be saving, because it's a real pain to try and put back on, so don't worry about it. So you're gonna pull this off. Because this is not essential to keeping the printer safe in travel. It's just to kind of keep the exterior nice. But if you really care that much about how your exterior looks, you can always wipe it down once it gets to your site. So now that you've got this off, we're just going to toss that. You're going to notice on the top here, there's this little packet taped to the top of the printer. You're going to pull that off along with removing the tape off of this. This is your Bambu Quick Start Guide. So this will be what we're following to set the printer up from here all the way to fully functioning. It's a really good demo. They've got some QR codes and stuff in here as well. As you open it, the first couple of pages are just kind of telling you what you're looking at. So tells you what's in the package here. Once again, you should have one of these with every one of your Bambus, so you should have one to look at. On this next page, you've got your first instructions. So first things first, what you want to do, you can see that there's this tape on here. You're going to want to pull this off of here. Once again, we don't need to save the tape because it'll get stuck to everything. Oops. Okay. So now that your tape's off, you'll notice, as I kind of did on accident, this pulls off. We're going to take this and we're going to set this off to the side somewhere. I'm going to set it right here. As you open this, you should see that there's a bunch of packing foam in here. There's also this little box. You're going to want to remove this. This is your tool accessory box. We will be opening this in a second, but it kind of has a diagram of what's all on here. Some important stuff. Setting that off to the side really quick, we're going to remove this packing foam carefully to try and not break it, because we're going to want that when we rebox this. As careful as you can be. Set this off to the side again. This can go in the trash. And then you're going to want to remove your AMS from here. This is the AMS. It's kind of sandwiched in there. You're going to want to remove these other two pieces of foam, which can be kind of a pain, but try your best not to break them. These two pieces aren't super important, but they're nice to have. You can kind of turn them and they come out easier. Pull those out. Try and clean up any of the excess pieces of foam that you left in there. So now you've got all of your foam removed. We're going to move on to unscrewing this so that you can pull it out. So first things first, we're going to remove these tapes again on the front of this door. You can just kind of peel it off with your fingers if you have some fingernails. Pull this off. I recommend kind of holding the door when you're pulling on this tape so that it doesn't put too much strain on the door as you're pulling it off. And throw that tape away. Just want to pull this off. Once again, kind of putting just a hand on that door. Don't worry about if there's any like strings left, you can just pull those off. Okay, so then you can open this door. We're gonna leave this on for now just to make sure we don't smudge up that door, because it is nice to have a nice looking 3D printer. So now we need Allen keys. That's where our toolkit comes in handy. This, as you can see, has the Allen keys we need, has all the Allen keys we need to set up this printer. So there's some tape on this side. You're gonna take some sort of cutting implement, cut that, pop this bad boy open. You'll see this. So we're gonna take this out. This is your screen. We'll use that later. Set that aside. But what we're really looking for here is our Allen keys, which are right there, taped down underneath that stuff. So the one we're gonna need is this larger one. So we're just gonna leave everything else that's in there for right now. Set this off to the side. So to unscrew this, you'll see there's these two red arrows pointing towards these two holes. You just wanna go in to one of these like this, and you'll feel the Allen key kind of connect with that screw. Start unscrewing it. They're not super large screws, so this doesn't take super long. Once again, you wanna make sure you save these, because these will be important to remounting your AMS so that it doesn't get jostled around in travel. So I recommend finding a cup or some bag or something to put these in. I usually like taking one of these bamboo bags, and like this one just has the spool holder in it. Popping one of these open and just sticking the screws in there so that you don't lose them. So that's what I'm gonna do, but any other sort of method to hold screws works as well. Main thing is you just don't want to lose them. So there's two of them. once you undo them both, make sure you save the screws. Then your AMS, you can just pull out of the top here, out of that shipping bracket. And now this is out. So we're gonna set this off to the side again on top of this over here. We'll come back to that in a second. Now, you can see this is kind of open. We're done with these two steps on this manual. So now we're gonna turn the page to the next step. Where now it's telling us to remove this shipping bracket for the AMS. To do that, we're once again gonna take our handy dandy Allen key we have here, the longer one again. And all of these arrows are pointing towards screws that you have to unscrew. So it's kind of tricky to see, but there's one that's right on the other side here. There's one that is right here. And then there's one that's here and one that's here. So what you're gonna wanna do is go ahead and start unscrewing those. And you're gonna wanna remove foam as necessary to access these parts. I recommend going through the door to get to these screws with the Allen wrench. I find that that works the best rather than trying to come over top. But once that's undone, you might not be able to get the screws out. So as long as it's unscrewed, you're gonna wanna continue on to the next screw and unscrew that. You'll feel when it's unscrewed, it'll be really loose, kind of wanting to come out, but you can't always get them out because sometimes it just doesn't work out. So then you're just gonna keep on unscrewing these, going through, getting all 4 of these ones. Some are a little more tricky to get to, but a little perseverance, a little growth mindset, you can do it. So this screw, you usually have to remove this packing, or at least I find it a little easier to do that. You don't actually have to, and I think I'm gonna wait this time. Just put that in there, unscrew this, give it a little twirl. Once it's all unscrewed, then once again, because we don't take these screws out, you kind of want to lightly lift on this to make sure that it's unscrewed, but you'll feel if it is, and it'll just come out like that. It might be a little stuck on this foam there, but once it's out like this, you're going to want to turn it like so that you can pull it out the top. Now, next important thing is you don't want to lose all these screws. So instead of just leaving them in here, what you're going to want to do is pull these screws out, kind of. I find it easiest to just kind of find an open space and just tap on it slightly so that they fall out. Once again, keep track of where these are so that you don't lose them. Top one wants to come out, and there you can see all 4 of these are all the same length. I'm once again going to take all these, throw them in this bag so that I don't lose them. All right, so now that we're done with that step, we're going to refer back to this. You can see where it told us to unscrew that, then remove this. Next things, we're going to remove the cardboard from the tool head and remove the foam from the excess chute. So this is your tool head. How you remove this cardboard, you can kind of pull on this and move it. That's fine, it doesn't break it. I wouldn't yank on it, just lightly move it. You can kind of see how there's this tongue that's stuck through this chunk of cardboard here. You're just gonna wanna pull that through and then lift up with this. So this is the cardboard. This is another piece that we're not really going to use when we repack it because it just surrounds the tool head Doesn't really add any packing strength, so we're gonna toss that. So then what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the foam from the excess chute, which is this little thing back here. You can see conveniently there's a little hole. You can stick your finger through, just pull out like that. It's just this tiny piece of foam. We're gonna wanna save that one, so put that off to the side. The next thing that it does is tell you to set up the AMS. This is not really how I like to do it, so we're actually gonna set up the AMS last, just because I find it easiest to do. So we're gonna skip that step for right now. This is telling you how you can put on the spool holder if you wanna use the spool holder. But moving on to this. Next, we're gonna unlock the print bed. So to unlock the print bed, we're gonna come back in here. This is just loose extra stickers for your print bed. You're gonna wanna set those off to the side. You don't wanna lose those. Then you're gonna notice this is the actual print bed here. So to open this, because right now it's stuck down there, to open this to be able to move, you're gonna see that there's these 3 screws. There's one here, one there, and one in the back there next to each of these lead screws, which is what these 3 things are called. So what you're gonna wanna do, this is when I would take this foam out so you have a little bit more breathing room down there. You wanna save this, throw that off to the side, stick that there. Once again, I recommend going through the front on these. I think it's just an easier angle in general. You're gonna wanna unscrew this. That's not quite, there we go. So these are a little longer screws. Once again, you don't wanna lose these. So I'm gonna throw them in the same bag as everything else. Right in there. Then you're gonna wanna continue through each of these. Then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so once you remove that sticker and all of your screws, you can see that there's this foam underneath the build plate here. We're actually gonna wait to remove that because it's like impossible to remove before calibration. So moving on to our next step here, you can see it tells us to connect the screen. So like I said earlier in that toolkit, you've got your screen here. It's closed just by this single piece of tape on the back. Pull that open, open this up. This is your nice bamboo screen. So how you put this on, you can see this is the connector to the screen. You wanna be careful when taking this off because you don't wanna break it, but you wanna take this tape off of it, just like that. Now, how you connect the screen is you wanna take this and just feed it right into there. It's kind of hard, but eventually you can get it. You'll feel it kind of click, and then it's stuck. So how you can tell if the screen is orientated right is you want these little hooks to be pointing in that way, left. So once you have this cable connected, then you're gonna push it into those little slots that are right there, and then you're just gonna slide it to the left until it clicks. That's your screen connected. Next step after your screen tells you to start actually networking and using your printer. Since we didn't put the AMS on, we've got to do that really quick. But before we do that, you want to take off this cover for the door, which you can do by just coming on the inside here. There's this little flap that's connected by glue. You just want to pull that off, and then you should be able to just pull this out. It can be a little tricky. The hinge is right there, but eventually you can kind of pull this out like this. Voila. Once again, we're not going to save this. Then we're going to take our little top plate here, slide our AMS off of that. Do the exact same thing we just did with the door. You can see the seam is up here on this one. This one's a little better sealed, so sometimes you gotta take a knife to this one. But if you want to take a knife and you don't want to scratch your surface, you just want to raise this up so there's this little exposed surface above it, and just cut like that. You just want to open it wide enough that you can slide this out, so open one end of it. Take a hold of this. Voila. Then we're going to throw this over in our trash pile again. So now that we've got this, you want to throw this on top of your Bambu. Proper orientation is you want this little lever to face forward. You just kind of slide it in like this. It doesn't actually have any clip-ins, it just sits on the top like that. So yeah, there's no clip-ins or anything you have to worry about. Just set it on the top like that. Next thing we're going to do, set our AMS on top of it here. We're going to remove our little package of desiccant from the AMS. Take this tape off. We're not going to be using that again. Then what you're going to want to do is you can peel this off of your AMS. Once again, not using this again. You want to do that for all the surfaces that are covered, like this. Just like that. And now you want to pop open your AMS, pull out this extra PET tubing, throw that off to the side because we don't need that because it's already got its tube attached. Then you're going to want to shut this door, kind of turn the printer so that you can see the back of it over on this side. You can see that this PET tubing's taped there. You want to pull this off, throw that, and just push that into there, and then you'll feel it. It won't want to pull out anymore. So then you're going to want to search through your toolkit up here and find these cables. These are how you're going to connect your AMS to your Bambu. You'll notice one of these is a 4-prong and one of these is a 6-prong. So the 4 is going to go right in here. I recommend using this part to go in here. And then down at the bottom here, there's a little 4. If you want to look at that, Petey. And you're just going to want to throw that right in there. So then your 6-prong, notice on the back of your AMS here, there's 2 slots for this. Doesn't actually matter which one you put it in, so just stick it in whichever one you want, and then stick this one in this little input on the side there. So that's your Bambu almost fully set up and ready to go. With the one thing, this is your power cord. It's also in your toolkit. You're gonna throw this on the back. Here's the connection. It's right there. That goes in this side, then you're gonna plug this end into an outlet. But that's pretty much your Bambu physically set up. There's a little more hardware stuff, but that goes through this, and there's calibration. But that's as far as I'm gonna go for this unboxing. So, next up, we're gonna rebox it. Okay, so to start with our reboxing process, we're gonna put our AMS away. So, first step to doing this is you can see that there's this PET tube that goes into this little notch there. If you try and pull on it, you can't pull it out. So what you need to do is, I find it easiest to take this Allen wrench, and there's a little lip. It's kind of hard to see, but if you press on it and then pull, it'll just come out super easy, just like that.
Want to do that one more time for the camera?
So in, doesn't really want to come out. There's a little lip that you just press on, and then it pulls out just like that. So then what we're gonna do, you can see I conveniently took one of these pieces of tape. We're just gonna take this and tape this PET tube back on top of the AMS, just to hold it secure. So next thing we have to do is remove this so that we can actually move the AMS. What you're gonna wanna do is, you see these little tabs. You're gonna wanna press down on that tab and then pull out. So when you press down on it, it does that. This one's a little tricky because the tab is on the inside. So once again, I find it easiest to take your Allen wrench, you go in there, you pull like that, and then pull out. So that's this cord out. Then we're also gonna take this cord. Once again, this one's on the inside there. Actually, these ones you can just pull, I think. Nope. Yeah, so that one's on the inside again. This one's a little more challenging. I find it easiest if you kind of wedge this behind it and then pull out like that. Nope. It can be a little challenging. Sometimes this is the better option. Bear with me here. There we go. So it can be a bit tricky because this is recessed as well. This one's just on the bottom here. Press in, pull out. Now you got these two cords. I'm just gonna kind of wrap these up, and we're gonna throw these back in our toolkit there. So now you can move your AMS off the top of your Bambu because it's disconnected from everything. Then what we're gonna do, we're gonna flip these to pop it open, and we're just gonna throw our extra PET tubing back in there so that it's secure. I believe that's everything I wanna throw in there. So then we're gonna close this, set this off to the side for a moment. So now we're gonna actually start taking apart our printer here. First things first, you want to make sure it's disconnected from power, turned off. Ours already is. Actually, before you disconnect it from power, you want to make sure that your build plate is all the way down. When you're lowering your build plate, you can put this piece of foam back on it, but you want it to be all the way down so that we can screw it in here. So once that's all prepped, first thing we're actually going to do is remove our screen. Just like how we put on our screen where you push it left, you're gonna push it right. So like this, and it should pop out with a little bit of a nudge. Come on. Should pop out.
I always thought those were one way.
What do you mean?
Those were like a snap on and then they're on forever.
Okay, so now that we're over at a different printer, I'm going to show you how you can actually remove the screen. So if you come down here, you can kind of see that there's a tab there. What you're going to want to do is press up on that. It requires a little bit of force, and then it comes out just like that, sliding right. So you press up on this and slide right. You got to press up a little bit with a little bit of force, but it doesn't take a ton of force sliding it. And then you've got this connection. So then what you're going to want to do is press these two little tabs in, and that will allow you to just wiggle that out. And that's how you remove your screen. Cut. So now that you've got your screen removed, what we're gonna do is we're gonna come inside the Bambu here, and we're gonna screw these screws back in to secure the build plate. So those are gonna be these longer screws. They're gonna go right in each of these holes that have those orange arrows pointing towards them. You can just rest it in there. Take this long Allen wrench again, because that's the proper sized one, and then tighten it. And then you're just going to want to repeat that for the other, for the other 3 screws. Then you'll move on to the next step of repacking it. So now you've got your lead screws screwed down so that your build plate won't move. We're going to put the shipping bracket in. But before we do that, we're going to place our little excess stickers right on the build plate so that when we put our shipping bracket on, it'll go over top and secure that. So to put this shipping bracket in, it can be a little challenging to get it to line up with the holes because these are such long screw recesses, but there's a couple things you can use. First of all, if you look on this side, there's this little divot. You want this lead screw to sit in that divot, and you'll see that when I put this in. Also, if you look in the printer here, there's these little kind of extrusions. Those will line up with the corners of this shipping bracket. So there's 2 here and then 1 over on this side. So now let's put this in. The way I recommend putting this in is from the top, kind of the same way you took it out, where also this side goes to the left, this side goes to the right. You're gonna kind of tilt it in there until you get there, then put that down like that. And like I said, you want to try and line some of those things up, and it'll kind of lock into place almost. Like you can see, I can't really move that because these little edges are stopping that. So now we're going to use these kind of medium-sized screws to screw in each of those holes. Once again, each of those holes is marked by one of these orange arrows. So there's 1 here, 1 back here, 1 there, and 1 there. I once again recommend kind of going through the inside for this one, and you're just going to tighten each of those, and then we'll move on to actually putting our AMS in. These don't take a whole ton to screw in because they're shorter screws, so it shouldn't take as long. Now we've got our AMS shipping bracket screwed in, we're going to actually throw our AMS in there. So same way that it came out, you're going to rotate it sideways because the screw holes are right here. And you're going to line those up with these 2. And then you're going to throw this through the top, kind of the same way that it came in. You do have to push a little bit because it's a tight fit in there for this, and you just want to look down at these bottoms and try and make these screws line up. You can see that those aren't, so you can kind of reach behind it and push on it to push it in place, which that still isn't quite in place there. Oops. This one's a little tricky, so just bear with me here. So, little finagling, you can get it in there. One thing to mention is you want to make sure that the this kind of bulge side of the AMS, this I guess half circle side is on the right, because we're going to stick our toolkit down there, and also that's the only way that it actually fits in. So you can see that those are lined up there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take these smaller screws and we're going to throw them in here. Same Allen wrench, and just tighten those up. Like so. Repeat that for both sides. Once again, you can find these screw holes by looking for those little orange arrows. Okay, so at this point, our Bambu is almost completely ready to be thrown back in the box. But quickly, you want to kind of scan around, find any of these Bambu bags, any of these, like the starter kit, all that stuff, and you want to throw that, and of course your screen, and you want to throw that back into your toolkit here. Just try your best to get it to fit in there the best you can. Just make sure that you have all of your pieces. This can actually, it's up to you. You can either kind of bend it and throw it in here, or you can just rest it on top. If you rest it on top, I'd recommend you grab some tape and just tape it down, because we're gonna throw this piece back on the top. And so just so this doesn't get lost, I'd put some tape on it if you're gonna put it there. I'm gonna throw this in here. You also wanna make sure you don't forget either of your little Allen wrenches that you have. Throw those back in there, fold this up, close your toolkit once everything's in there. And this is gonna go in the same exact spot that it was, right in this corner here, like so. Should kind of sit in there fairly nicely. Throw that back on top. Now we're gonna move into actually throwing this in the box. Okay, so before we throw this printer back into the box here, there's two final pieces of foam that we have to put in. This one's gonna go on top. This one goes in the excess chute. So to get this one in there, it can be a little challenging because it's kind of down in there, but you can kind of use both of your hands to guide, and this just sits right in there like that. So then there's this piece. This piece is a little challenging to get to set back in there because it was in there so tight when they packed it, but you're gonna press these edges in like that, and then these two kind of feet on the end here, you're just gonna have to push in. Like so. So this is gonna help kind of keep everything in place during transit. And now we can throw this on top there. Make sure that those are down far enough. It's fine if it's popping out a little bit because we're gonna tape this down. So leads me to my next thing that we're gonna do. We're gonna tape this door shut and tape this down. So I recommend just using some clear packing tape and doing 2 strips, one across the top for the door, like that. And then one across the bottom here. Just like that. So then we're going to do this for the top as well, kind of in a similar fashion to the door. We're going to do one across the front here and one across the back. You kind of lay your arm across it to make sure it lays down flat, and just tape that like that. Then we're going to do that for the back side as well. Once again, once you get these to your site, you can just use some basic all-purpose cleaner to clean off your windows, or some Windex for this glass, and clean off the casing of your Bambu if you want it to look nice, which, you know, I recommend, because nice looking 3D printers are fun. At least I think so. So there you go. Now this is all taped up. We're going to throw it back in the box here. So to do that, kind of same way that you took it out, you're just gonna slide it in there, shift it around. So in the bottom here, in the bottom of this box, you'll notice there's these kind of like 4 corners pieces. You just want to make sure that your corners match up with those. And then we're going to take our big piece of bubble wrap here and just tuck it in and around the printer carefully so you don't mess up this PET tube. But just like that. Then we're going to take our 4 corners pieces that I said to save at the beginning, and we're going to throw those each in one of these corners. Then finally, a little piece of bubble wrap just to secure the top there, tuck it in on the sides. Then you can go ahead, close up your box, take your packing tape or whatever secure tape you plan on using to pack this, which I guess technically makes it packing tape. So take this. I recommend doing one across like that, and then doing one on each of these sides just to be safe, because we don't want our printer to get bumped loose in transit. There you go. That's your Bambu fully unboxed and reboxed. If you have any questions throughout this process, you can always refer back to the quick start guide. It has great instructions on there. Also, you can always go to the Bambu Labs wiki page. They have a page for probably any problem you could encounter out of the box, through the setup, after for maintenance. So, hope you found this helpful, and have fun with your new 3D printer.
That's all, folks.